Hey, we are back again. For anyone who's new, I'm trying to put up these little videos so you have an extra resource, you have somewhere that you can go and search for a little bit of information, mostly to play in the background when you're mucking out or doing whatever you're doing. Let's assume it's tack cleaning. We all claim we clean tack, but no one ever claims tack. I wanted to do a follow on from the last video, which was speaking a little bit the language that we use in regards to describing our horses, and trying to avoid the idea of channeling the training based off the description of your horse's personality. So the idea that a horse is sharp or quirky or sassy, and that will then make you apply the work in a particular way. But looking at what is underneath that, we referred to the training scale, make it a little bit easier. I want to talk a little bit more about the idea of the phraseology that we use when we're riding and when we're teaching and when we're learning. And a lot of that language is tradition. A lot of that is based off of a certain assumption that we have all immersed ourselves in the work to such an extent that we have examined each phrase, we have examined each idea, to the point where if somebody throws it out, we all know what that actually means. So it's not different for each one of us. It's not different for a horse. It's not different from trainer to trainer or circumstance. And I think that actually has left us somewhere short of where we could be. So instead of being able to get on our horses in the worst moment and have that one little nugget of information that is going to help us change a situation or rescue a situation, bring it back to where we need it to be, we often get stuck in the phrases, the old teaching phrases, the all-encompassings, that aren't really detailed enough. So we start working on the horse as an overall. We start working on the horse as a finished product, as maybe the end result. We start working them on, again, in those breed descriptors or those type descriptors, instead of really going, wait a minute, what's the exacting thing? Philosophy. What is the exacting philosophy? What is the exacting step of the training scale that might help me change this scenario from being generally okay and maybe accidentally helpful to really specific for this horse and really helpful for this horse? So try and have a plan. We'll talk a little bit more about training plans in the next video, but try and have a plan when you get on of the things specifically that you want to improve with the horse. So not the movement, but the underneath of. So all of that old nonsense of tell him what he's told and show him who's boss, all that nonsense. Figure out what does that actually mean for that horse. So why is that counter transition not happening? Well, that counter transition is not happening because he's not supple enough. So when you add in forwards and then you put in the complication of a counter transition, it doesn't happen because he blocks. So then your goal is, I'm going to make this horse so goddamn supple that when it gets to the thing that's difficult, we have a shot at it. So it's not about wheedling into personality traits, as we said, or into a push-pull dynamic where you're having to defensively ride. So something happens and then you have to fix the horse, because lots of horses just start to feel slightly resentful of being overridden or overcorrected for things that they can't help, that they just don't know what they're doing. So forget about the old stock phrases, forget about tradition, or at least recognize that when you have those phrases in your vocabulary, when your trainer has those phrases in your vocabulary, find out what they mean. Find out specifically underneath what do they mean. And that has to relate to a proper body mechanic, movement-wise training idea. It's got to be something that's inculcated in the horse. So the easiest thing, look at the training scale, forward, rhythm, supple. Where in that does that phrase point? That's what we're looking for. Now, the other thought process I had, which reoccurred to me today while I'm teaching, is often the phrases and the language of riding, when they're unexamined, when they're unexplored, when they're assumed that we all know what they are and where they're going and what they mean, they can create an inner dialogue. And I think for me, this is definitely something that I have struggled with and struggle still with. But the phrases unexamined, for me, trigger off a thought process where while I'm riding, I'm thinking in the back of my head about how I feel about doing something, how I feel about the idea of it, and how I believe or disbelieve in my ability to be able to do that, in my ability to be able to follow that philosophy. So broad phrases, broad language, unexamined descriptions send me more into that inner dialogue, more into that inside voice that potentially feels more vulnerable for me. So I spend more time thinking why I'm having trouble with that particular thing, why I might be repeatedly having trouble with that thing, or why I haven't noticed that I'm having trouble with that thing, because that happens quite a bit. I think, oh, I'm sure I used to know that, or how did I not know that? And that's a very easy mindset to get into, because the phrases that are thrown at us, and that might be test sheet phrases, that might be something on the test sheet, something like, lacking forward. Something unexamined is too big a piece of the pie for the brain to take on in the moment when you're also riding a horse, catching your breath, fixing your position, correcting your position, correcting the horse, trying to absorb some information, trying to pass some information on. It's too easy for it to become I'm not quite sure what that is, and then the other voice kicks over. And it's such a funny place to be, but also to describe, because it's a feeling. But when you get that in the zone feeling, when you get that I'm really with my horse, and I just have to think it and it happens, that is so amazing. It's so exciting when it happens, no matter what the thing is, whether it's a canter or whether it's just a bend left. Who cares what it is? But when you get that feeling, it's so amazing. But you have to consider, I just think it and it happened. I just thought about the whole overarching picture and all the bits that encompass in that, and it just happened. It's really highly bloody unlikely. So to give yourself a shot at being in that zone, to give yourself a shot of really feeling at one with your horse, it's not about being perfect on a perfect horse, and it's not about yearning to be perfect on a perfect horse, doing a perfect movement or doing a perfect test. It's about the two of you at the same time knowing the thing you're working on in that moment, and both of you going, oh yeah, I've totally got it. I've got it, you've got it, let's do it together. Let's be excited together and let's go for it. So, what I think I'm going to suggest, and what I'm going to try and do, is keep bringing my end goal into the short-term goal of 1 to 2 words, 1 to 2 nuggets of information that are going to be more easily found, caught hold of in the moments of pressure. So I'm going to look at the thing that I'm trying to improve for the year. I'm going to look at the process of what's getting there, but I'm going to look in the short term to see what 1 word can I remind myself with, what short, quippy, witty, inspiring word can I use that reminds me of the detail of the thing, not the big picture thing. So we forget about big picture. Look at small picture, look at small moments, and give yourself a little checklist of short, easy to grab words that are specific for you and for your horse. So that's the plan. Look for what you're looking for. Try and find those shorter words. Try and find something that's easier to grab hold of. And hopefully in the next video, we will speak a little bit about actually planning a season, planning for a show, planning a session, and then what that actually means. Okay, good luck for now.